Namo Sakyamuni. Hello everyone, Kwang today here. And in this video, I'm going to be finishing off the last four of the Eightfold Path. And in the last video, I covered the first four: right view, intention, speech, and action. And today I'll be finishing up the last four of the Eightfold Path. So let's get started. So the fifth of the Eightfold Path is right livelihood. Right livelihood means that one should earn one's living in a righteous way, and that wealth should be gained legally and peacefully. And the Buddha mentions four specific activities that harm other beings and that one should avoid for this reason. And the first one is dealing in weapons. The second is dealing in living beings, which includes raising animals for slaughter, as well as slave trade and prostitution. And the third is working in meat production and butchery. And the fourth is selling intoxicants and poisons, such as alcohol and drugs. And of course, in occupations where you're dealing with firearms or weapons or anything that's destructive, basically. Also, any other occupation that would violate the principles of the right speech and right action should also be avoided. So right livelihood just means living peacefully, living happily without bringing harm to yourself or to others. It's being in, it doesn't necessarily mean being in a dream job. It just means living in a way, or making a living in an environment where it's non-harmful to other people, to other beings, or to other animals, or anything else. The sixth of the Eightfold Path is right effort, or right diligence. To some, right effort should be the first of the Eightfold Path, because right effort is the individual's will to achieve wholesome ethics and deeds. It is the mental effort and energy in doing wholesome or unwholesome thoughts or deeds. So it's the same energy that fuels desire, envy, violence, and aggression, but it's also the energy that fuels self-discipline, honesty, compassion, kindness. And we can group right effort in four types of endeavors. The first one is to prevent the wholesome seeds that have not yet arisen in oneself. The second is to let go of the unwholesome seeds that have arisen in oneself. The third is watering the wholesome seeds that have not yet arisen in oneself. And fourth is maintaining the wholesome seeds that have already arisen in oneself. So right effort is basically the mental energy that makes us want to practice, that fuels our motivation to practice. Because if we don't have right effort, if we don't have that diligence to practice and to succeed and to push ourselves to end our suffering, to reach liberation, then we're kind of really not going anywhere. When I gave a teaching at my temple about this path, I told them, if you're coming to temple just once a week and sitting down meditating, and you're expecting to be happy or peaceful or whatever it is you're wanting to achieve, then it's not going to happen. Because practicing once a week for the hour and a half, 2 hours that you're at temple is really a waste of everyone's time. So diligence is really that aspiration in oneself that makes us want to practice. So it's about meditating on our wholesome seeds. It's about cultivating those wholesome seeds. It's about cultivating our practice and our knowledge and our intention to want to succeed in our practice. And if you don't have that, then you're kind of just wasting your time. Because if you don't have the motivation, and I know having motivation to meditate is extremely difficult for a lot of people, but that motivation comes from within us. It comes from us, not from external sources or people or things. And it's our job to create that motivation. And it's part of this right effort and that diligence to create that motivation for ourselves, to want to practice and to want to succeed and to push ourselves. The seventh path is right mindfulness. And right mindfulness is the mental ability to see things as they are, with clear consciousness. So right mindfulness exercises a powerful grounding function. It anchors the mind. Securely in the present, so it doesn't float away in the past or worry about the future, with memories and regrets and fears and hopes. So right mindfulness is cultivated through a practice called the four foundations of mindfulness: the body, feelings, mind, and mental objections. Right mindfulness is, we hear the word mindfulness a lot, and it means several different things to several different people, but basically right mindfulness is the practice of being aware of ourselves, being aware of our surroundings, and being in the present without, worrying about the past or, being anxious about the future. It is literally just honing our skills of being able to be aware of this and now. There's really no such thing as the present, because every time the present is the present, it's already the past. It's already gone in, millionths of fractions of a second. But that's not really the point of it. The point is being able to be mindful and aware of, your thoughts and your feelings and anything that comes up. When we're driving and someone cuts us off, if we're mindful, we won't allow anger to arise within us because that person cut us off. Or if someone's yelling at us, or someone threw something at us, or hit us, or whatever it may be, being mindful will allow us to kind of, put up the shield that won't allow those negative feelings to rise. And with that mindfulness, with that shield that we brought up, we'll be able to cultivate, compassion and loving kindness instead of anger and aversion, and be able to kind of kind of fight back those negative feelings with positive ones. So being mindful, can help us in so many ways. We know that meditation can help us, prevent, anxiety and depression. But before meditation comes, we have to have mindfulness. And if we're mindful all the time, even though it's hard, if we're mindful most of the time at least, then we'll be able to prevent any negative feelings that arise within us. We'll be able to see things more clearly and understand things more clearly and put ourselves in other people's shoes, or just kind of see things from different perspectives and not allow negative feelings or anything else to kind of to affect us. Last but certainly not least of the Eightfold Path is right concentration, or we might see sometimes as meditation. And right concentration is described as one pointedness of mind, meaning a state where all mental faculties are unified and directed onto one particular object, which is, as I mentioned before in my meditation video, is our object of meditation. So right concentration for the purpose of the Eightfold Path means wholesome concentration, as in the concentration on wholesome thoughts and actions. Samadhi in meditation can be developed through mindfulness of breathing, or anapanasati, through visual objects, or through repetition of phrases and mantras. So for meditation, the meditating mind focuses on a selected object. It first, directs itself onto it, then sustains that concentration, and finally intensifies the concentration step by step. So there are two types of concentration, active and selective. In active concentration, the mind abides on whatever is happening in the present moment, even as things come and go and change. So an active concentration means concentrating on whatever is going on in our mind, allowing the thoughts and images to come and go without clinging onto them or entertaining them. And then we have, then selective concentration is holding onto and concentrating on one object. While doing sitting or walking meditation, we might concentrate on an image or statue of the Buddha. So then we are aware of the noises, of the cars outside, of the thunderstorm, the dog barking, but we only acknowledge them and continue with our concentration on our object. We don't concentrate on an object to escape our suffering. Instead, we concentrate to make ourselves deeply aware of the present moment. Samadhi means concentration. To practice samadhi is to live deeply in every moment. And to concentrate, we should be mindful, fully aware and present of what is going on. And so mindfulness creates concentration Concentration creates wisdom. Wisdom leads to insight, and insight ultimately leads to enlightenment. So that is the Eightfold Path for you. Like I said before, I'm kind of giving you the extreme Cliff Notes version of something that's completely profound and something that I can probably spend hours deeply explaining to you, but that's not my job. My job is to give you those Cliff Notes and for you to kind of go make your own truths for it. So I could elaborate more on the last path, the concentration or meditation. But instead, feel free to watch my video on Buddhist meditation. That kind of will give you a more elaborate description or talk on meditation. There's really not much more to say than what I probably already said, so I don't want to repeat myself, but do realize and do know that the Eightfold Path, as I mentioned in my last video, is extremely important. It's extremely profound teaching. It's the most fundamental teaching of all of Buddhism, because everything else falls onto the Eightfold Path. The Eightfold Path can lead us to enlightenment if we practice it diligently, if we cultivate its practices as much as we can. And like I said, the Eightfold Path is not a step-by-step process. It's not a step-by-step practice. We can't go from one thing to another. It's something that we kind of work holistically with. It's everything all together at the same time and not something we do one at a time. I know it's difficult for a lot of people to kind of practice mindfulness all the time or have time for meditation. A lot of us, like myself, have a really bad potty mouth. And so, that causes the most cursing. And for me, I have a smallish form of road rage. And so that really hinders my practice sometimes. But I have good moments, I have bad moments. I'm human. That's all I can do. But it is important to practice mindfulness and everything else as much as we can. For me, when I do, curse or say something or think of something bad, I'm aware of it the second I say it. And then I repent it, or I say some mantra to kind of get it out of my system, or I do something to make sure that I realize that what I did was bad or wrong and do correct it. So the next time that feeling or thought or word kind of creeps up on you, it's easier to kind of foretell it and stop it before it happens. And that's usually happens once we start practicing, once we, continue practicing those mindfulness practices or doing whatever we need to do to fix our problems. It's not easy, it's time consuming, it's not an overnight kind of fix, it's not a band-aid, but the more we practice, the more we try to want to better ourselves, the easier it is to actually do those things. So don't give up. It's difficult, it's not easy, it's time consuming, it's very time consuming, but that, nothing is easy. It's not meant to be easy. It's meant to teach you. It's meant to help you learn and develop yourself. So don't give up, even though there's lots of moments where giving up sounds like the easiest thing to do. But don't do it, because in the end, everything, will fall into your lap and work out or something. So that is the Eightfold Path. Thank you for joining me. Smile and be well.